Hi everyone, welcome to Steph K Yoga. I am, as usual, not Stephanie K. I'm her husband and I lead these about once a month. So tonight we're going to do 5 new poses, at least new, roughly speaking, for this group. They're not difficult. They just haven't shown up in too much in Stephanie's regular classes. But as usual, we're going to start with just breathing. And in fact, I'd like you to start standing up if you would, please. So from a standing, feet in a natural position, just stand and just breathe. Do this for about a minute. Pay attention to your breathing. You don't need to change anything. Just notice it. And now do a 4 count in, hover, pause for 5 counts, and then exhale for 6 counts. And do that on your own time. And when I say hover or pause, it means don't close your throat at the top. And go ahead and find your way down to sitting. And we'll continue with some pranayama. So prana, breathing, and ayama, which typically today is being translated as either intentional or controlled breathing. That is, so you have controlled breathing, pranayama, but probably originally meant stop breathing. And that's because there was a practice early yogic practice of actually stopping your breathing, which was supposed to have beneficial and possibly some mystical work or effort, impact, whatever the right word is. I'm not going to be doing any stopping of breathing tonight. I like breathing. I've actually done a little bit of that kind of practice, but we're not doing that here. But we'll look at the technique of breathing. So what people refer to as belly breathing is really relaxing the entire lower body so that when the diaphragm contracts and pulls down, the organs are pushed down as well. By relaxing the lower body, there's room for the organs to expand into. So it's a relaxation on the bottom in 360 degrees. So that's a filling all the way around, not just in the belly. And then up through into the chest, the intercostal muscles will contract, and they actually contract and pull the rib cage away. Once again, creating space in the chest. Those two things combined create a vacuum, and the lungs fill that vacuum. So we don't fill our lungs and expand our body. We expand our body to fill the lungs. So let's just practice for a little bit that intention, paying attention and noticing how when you expand your body out, that allows the breathing to come in. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Get the tongue out of your way. So let's continue with some controlled breathing and a little more traditional yoga approach or techniques. Some people like to make a lot of noise when they're doing the breathing here. I don't, honestly. I like to get my tongue a little bit forward and away so that I make as much space in the air passage as I can on the exhale. So the tip of my tongue to the upper, to inhale through the nose, and then just dropping the tongue to the lower teeth and being able to exhale with as little noise and as little obstruction as possible. But if you want to make a noise, I can't hear you, so you just go ahead. So this will be breathing in as fully as you can, and then exhaling as fully as you can as well, as much as you can, really compressing the abdominal muscles, squeezing that air out, right? So it's a fully in and fully out. And then fully in and fully out. Deeply in, deeply out. One more time. And out. And if you want to accentuate that full exhale with no obstruction or with a big sound, we can do lion's breath where you stick your tongue out. And if you stick your tongue out and keep the tongue down, then you really open up the throat. And you can do that without making any sound. Or you can also make a kind of a lion-like roar if you want to. So fully in and open the mouth up like a haka, doing haka from those people in New Zealand, in and out. And it looks just silly and it's wonderful. So we'll do a little warm up before we get to the poses. Hands together, heart's center, really chest center. Going up toward the sky. When you reach the top, turn your palms out, feeling your back, your shoulder blades squeezing together. I apologize. I'm having a lot of time. I'm having a lot of trouble thinking tonight, so this will not be the best recording. But it's going to be a great exercise. And coming back down, breathing in and up. Turn the hands, breathing out. Breathing in again. Coming down through the center. One more time up. Interlace your fingers. Turn your palms to the sky. Breathe. And rotate from the hips to one side. From the hips, that's where our movement starts, from the core. Our shoulders certainly end up turned, our heads turn. But that's the result of the core turning. It's the result of our moving with our center of our body and our center of gravity. And come back to center. Deep breath in and out, turning the hips the other way. Keeping the hands up. Full breaths into that lower part of your body. Feel that stretch. And back toward the center. Hands come down. I'm going to move my bolster out of the way. Come down to your hands and knees. And typically in yoga, there's a pose called child's pose. And everyone's seen it, which is out like this. Knees spread apart, toes together, hands out, head to the ground, letting your lower back sink in. So go ahead and do that for a little bit. We're going to contrast that with another version of child's pose. And these are all versions of Vajrasana, which is a diamond. And this is Supta Vajrasana, reclined diamond. And you can see sort of that diamond shape with your arms. So now from this pose, take your arms and just take them to your side, on the ground, palm up. This is equally considered child's pose. And this is a rest pose. So we're going to do this at the beginning. And after we've done all the other poses, we'll come back and do this at the end, before we head into Shavasana. Take those deep breaths. Feel how your lower body, your belly, pushes and expands and lifts you up. And release that pose, come out of it nice and gently. And we'll move into Bakasana, which is crow. We're going to do this without lifting off the ground. And I'll show you how that works, but really, just come up on your feet. You can either have your feet flat on the ground, like so, or better yet, come up on the balls of your feet and have your palms flat and stable on the ground. This is a really nice pose for stretching the calves. And the further you lean forward, there can be a little toe stretch, but primarily you can just consider this a calf stretch. There's strengthening that you can do here. We're not going to do it, but I'll show it to you in case in your own practice you want to play around with it. So, and you can of course also do balance work here. But one that Stephanie has shown you quite a bit is from this position, bringing the hands together and squeezing in with the legs. So this becomes a balance challenge as well as a strengthening. Make sure that the wrist bones are aligned if you do this. The other strengthening is to take the elbows outside of the legs and push outward. That'll engage the abductor muscles, those muscles that are on the sides of the hips that we use for lifting the legs sideways. And also engages some of the lower gluteal muscles. But mostly I like to do this just here. And crow pose, when done fully, I'll switch to the side so you can see it, is really a balance pose that can help with arm strength. So you feel free to try this if you want, but please don't try it if you're not confident, because this actually puts a lot of weight on the muscle, on the joints. But what happens is you take the elbows, you put them into the crooks, the folds between the thigh, right about where the knee is, and then come forward, lean, and take the feet off the ground. So my hands have to be wide, really holding the ground, neck is aligned, and I relax into this as much as I can. And then come back down. So that's a great one for the kids, right? Because they probably do it by them automatically. So you can come out of crow pose, and we will do actually one of my very favorites. This is Chandrasana, crescent moon. So from this position, from this pose, which I don't remember the name of, and that's okay, just take your left leg out, 90 degrees, orientation of the ankle to the leg. Reach back with your right leg and keep your hands down. You can do this up, that's just fine, but this is fine too, and it's safe. So you can have fists on ground, or palms on ground, or fingers on ground, however you're comfortable. The important thing is to extend that back leg and then sink into the ground. The stretch here is likely to be in your right hip muscles, specifically the iliopsoas muscles, which are really used a lot for raising the legs in front of you. You can also get a good stretch from this without as much effort of holding yourself up. Just take the knee to the ground, extend the leg or extend the foot. And once again, the further back the knee goes, when you sink, you really feel that stretch. And breathe into this. And you can also certainly come up, just like I have now. You can be a little more upright, but lean on your arm. And perhaps even more relaxing the pose. Full deep breath, release. Okay, come on down to your hands. And let's see, I think the simplest way here is to take the front leg, the one that's the left leg, and just bend it back so that you're back in tabletop. Smoothly bring the right leg up. You're going to feel that muscle you just stretched activating, and do the pose on the other side. However you felt comfortable doing it. I tend to give a bunch of different options. Stephanie does the same thing. And one reason we tend to do that is because people's bodies are different. So what's safe for me may not be safe for you. And what helps me find the good stretch also may not be what works exactly for you. So there's multiple ways to reach the same intention. Some principles here, though, since we're sitting here having a nice stretch, for stability are joint stacking. So my right knee is directly over basically my right heel, pretty close to, okay? And that's because that becomes a column of support. Full breath. And release. And come back down to hands and knees. Take the right leg back into tabletop. So next will be, let's see, I know I'm having to read this off the chart here, and that's just because I don't even memorize. Ustrasana, camel pose. But we're not going to do a full camel because it's really pretty tough on the lower back. We'll do a half camel though. So from the knees down pose, you can do this either on the balls of the feet, that is the toes underneath, or have the feet fully extended. Sometimes I get a cramp if I do it with the foot up like this. So I have to put my foot down. Okay? So from here, look over your right shoulder, look down at your right foot, reach back, find your heel, or if that's too far, you can find your ankle and your calf. But probably you'll be able to reach that back heel just fine. Reach back to the back heel, surround it with your arm, with your hand, so that you can lean back. Your right shoulder is directly above the right elbow, directly above the right wrist, right above the right heel. You have a pillar right through into the floor so that you know you're not going to fall. So this is a half camel. And the way that I like to do this, that is not necessarily everyone's style, but I like to take the hand up and look up at it. This way I'm describing a nice straight line from the ground to the sky. So notice here whether or not you tend to bend your elbow. Where's that balance point? You don't want to you don't want to hyper extend. Okay, so be cautious about that. But you also don't want to have that elbow open too much because then you're using too much muscle. And then to really get a full quadriceps stretch from this, push your belly button forward. Full breaths. You do not have to hold the poses as long as I do. You don't have to hold the poses at all. It's your practice. So you can always come out of a pose early. This is not the military. All right, I'm going to drop my hand. And if I don't feel like I can pull up, then you can safely get out of this pose by sitting down. And then coming back up. And go to the other side. Look over the left shoulder, reach back, find the heel, stack, belly button forward. What's changed in your breathing? Can you examine that change without judgment? And exhale and come out of the pose safely. Find your way to seating. You know, I get into these same kind of yogic expressions like everyone else. Sit down is what we're really saying. And bring your right foot in. Keep your left foot out so that you're making a nice right angle in front of you, a V shape. And I'm getting into this the wrong way. Pardon me. Take the sit in stack pose. So your legs are parallel, sitting upright. Reach out. This is called, I better tell you what this is. Akarna Dhanurasana. Shooting bow. It looks hard. It's not, but there's only so far that I can stretch in it. So you're just going to do the best we can. Reach out with your left hand. That can go to the ankle, to the toes if you're able to, whatever's comfortable. Likewise, reach out with the right hand as far as you can, whatever's comfortable. Bend your right knee. As you bring your knee back, hold on to the toes, lift the foot in the air, and draw back like you're drawing a bow. Elbow can be on top of the ankle, possibly inside, possibly outside, depends on your body shape. Drop your shoulders. Drop your left elbow toward the ground. Find your balance. Sink into the ground. Lift your foot, the one that's in the air. And if you want to, I can show you the picture later, but you can look intently forward as if you are actually going to shoot somebody with your foot. Shooting bow. I suspect this is a preparatory action to being able to take your foot around your head. By all means, if you can, do so. Okay, bring your foot to the ground. Extend. Shake your legs a little bit. Get yourself recentered. Reach out with the right hand. Grab the ankle. Start pulling, drawing back the left foot. Grab the toes. Do this nice and slowly. Find your balance as you go. This one's harder for me on this side. Isn't that interesting? And draw the bow. Yeah, I'm having a heck of a time with the balance on this side. That's okay. That's how it is today. Full breaths. A little smile wouldn't do you any harm right now to remind yourself that you're doing something kind of challenging. Bring the foot down. Come back to center, extend out, and shake. Shake up and down. Okay. So this is a good time for a water break. those were the 5 new poses. We're going to finish off with poses that we already know to bring ourselves back to comfort level. And then we'll move into Shavasana. Come to hands and feet. Hands and feet. Huh. Come to tabletop. Elbow direct, or shoulder directly above elbow, directly above wrist on the ground. Hip directly above knees. Everything at right angles. Stable. And we're going to do Stephanie's flowing cats and cows. The only thing I'm going to recommend is that when you finish the flow, that you finish with cat. There's a general, I read a general rule of thumb that says if you do a back bend, end with a forward bend. And since that's basically what we're doing here, I'm going to suggest that you end nicely with a cat. So I'll talk you through the flow, and then you'll do it on your own. From this position, drop your head. Let your head hang. Notice as you move through the flow, if your head remains hanging, start pulling up from the belly button, lower back, middle back, upper back. And now you're in cat. Now, push backward. Bending your knees, coming down until you're seated back on your heels. Bend your elbows. Start flowing through, head going forward, scooping your lower back. So now your belly button's toward the ground. Raise your head slightly, not too much. Coming back up until you are now in cow. Your back is caved out. And then come back to neutral, drop the head, and do the flow again. Lower, middle, upper back into cat. Breathing out. As you sit, bend the elbows, flow through as you arch your back down, coming up into cow, and then moving into cat, flowing through about 5 more times. How are you breathing? Do you want to change? What happens if you try a 4, 5, 6 breathing pattern here? Okay, fine. Finish out the round. And when you're finished, take your knees apart, toes together. Sit back on your heels, hands out. Traditional child's pose, number 1. To accentuate this lovely scoop in your back, come up on your fingertips. 5 lovely breaths. Okay. Relax from that. And gracefully, gently, beautifully lie down on your back. If your lower back bothers you, find a pillow or a cushion or a bolster, a dog if it doesn't mind, and put that under your knees. If you have stress in your neck and your shoulders, likewise, find a pillow or maybe 4 or 5 magazines and put those under your head. With your head on the ground, that is not a natural alignment. It's okay to bring it off the ground so that it's easy on you. Hands away from your body, palms up. Extend the legs and just let them open. Shoulders sink into the ground. Shoulder blades are supported. Breathe. Breathing meditation, the simplest way to do it is to notice your breathing when your mind wanders, and it will. Notice when you notice, and gently bring yourself back to your breathing. And if you'd like to visualize something over the next couple, 3 minutes, maybe try visualizing when you breathe in that the air is coming in from the feet, in from the hands, and in from the top of your head to fill your entire torso, front, back, and sides. And when you exhale, that air is going out through your feet, through your hands, and through the top of your head. So take a nice deep breath in and exhale. And draw your knees up. Engage your abdominals when you do that. Let your knees go to the side. Let your head go to the side. Let your whole body go to the side into a supported fetal position, the position we were in before we entered the world. And just enjoy being here. And carefully and gently put your hand on the ground and push yourself up. Both hands. Notice how it feels. Where's the weight? Where's the movement? Where's your body? You have a bolster? Go ahead and sit on it. If you have the ground, go ahead and sit on that. For me, the yoga practice starts and ends with breathing. Our breathing is always with us. There's going to be days where I can't do poses, but I can always breathe. Thanks so much for practicing with me tonight. It was a rocky start, but it turned out well, and I really enjoyed it. Namaste.